Good afternoon, everybody. We will be starting the session very soon at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much for logging in early. We'll see how the session goes on. Thank you.
So they are being vulnerable and maybe very in a bad position in their living standard. And now I would like to line up some possible impacts. Of course, there were some fishing bans, and we can expect some in future as well when the investigations assessments are going on. Then, of course, there would some fishing bans. So they will lose their fishing days. It means loss of income. And as I mentioned, many will lose their livelihoods. That fish farmers and traditional farmers, they will lose their livelihood. And the operational cost will increase. Why? Because the water quality, the marine environment alterate, right? Because of this devastation, because of the pollution. So fish would not come to the near shore area. They will go further and further. And small scale fishes, they are chasing after these small fish. So they have to sail for longer distance. It increases their operational cost. On the other hand, now people, general public, they try to avoid fish as much as possible. So the demand decrease, but supply is there. So price, according to the demand and supply theory, price decrease. So who will suffer? The fishing community. And gear destruction, of course, because of the debris and huge chunks of these plastic pellets and all the gears and maybe their crafts will damaged. So who has to bear the cost? So likewise, there would be a tremendous impact on these fishing communities, which maybe we can express directly, or some may indirectly affect on their lives, on their livelihood. And also the raw material supply for processing companies, including these crabs or fish for drying, all this will affect. Even the fish for moldy fish processing in Kottegoda, Kudavalla comes from this Negombo Chilaw area. Dried fish processing in Kalpitiya, also operating with the fish caught from this Negombo and Chilaw, because in Sri Lanka the small scale fishery is seasonal. In fact, the fishers they can employ some specific gears and crafts only for one particular time period in depending on the monsoon weather. I will explain it further little later. And also it is we believe that the opportunity cost of fishermen is zero, because they cannot do anything other than fishing. They have only this boat and nets. So what they can do other than fishing? And they are fishers for generations. They are fishers for generations, and they are specialized for that. They have a good identity. They say proudly that we are fishers. We are the bosses. We are the first node of the supply chain or the value chain. Thousands of jobs. We are creating thousands of jobs. So they are proud to be fishers. And it's I don't know how it ethical or how it is fair to remove from their inherent job, which is prevailing from generation to generation from their ancestors. when we are in proposing strategies or proposing solutions, we have to keep all these things in mind. Meanwhile, we have to work for their well-being, for a better life. Therefore, we need to look for alternatives, right? If they, because of the decreasing fish stock in these areas, especially the critically, right, severely affected area from Chilav to, let's say, Kalutara. But we need to identify these critical areas very correctly through very good survey, very good data, right? Here, I want to stress migration. Migration is not a new thing for this community. From 1860, there are records in National Archives, in administrative reports, that the fishers in Nigambo Chilav area had been migrated to this north and east coast even in 1830s. This is the written evidence. We have written evidence on that. And the name, you know, in Mana there is a small, there is a place called South Bar. So the South Bar mean, right? South Bar means, so this is the area in Mana here, right? I can show, yeah. So this is the South Bar. So the name of this South Bar came because the migrants from down south, right, southward, like Nigambo, Chilav, this area, they have settled there. They were staying there and doing migration. So that is how the name came to that area, South Bar, right? So it means there is a, we can say, we can believe, we have to believe that there's a the written evidence as well as the word of mouth, the coming word from word of mouth, from generation to generation, from generation to generation. It means migration is centuries old practice. And in 1950, right, to prove this further, in 1950, German scholar Barthes had done a survey in Sri Lanka, and he had drawn this migratory routes map, indicating all the routes of the routes of migration, right? And I did my study in 2015, targeting Nigambo and Chilav fishing communities, and found out still these routes are following. Right, so they are moving, they are migrating to Kalpitia, Mana, Trincomalee, Mullaitivu, Batiklo, so these areas, and some are moving now to Panagura, Moratu area as well. And a similar study we did in 2017 in Putlam district. Still, there also we found out the migration pattern is still there. The routes are same. They are practicing this migration over and over yearly. Based on the monsoon wind pattern, they move from one coast to another. So migration is not a new thing for them, new practice for them. Actually, they are waiting to migrate. They are waiting to migrate due to certain advantages. Some are that we know that Nigambo Chilav area, highly densely populated area, so the fishermen, they cannot land their boats even near their houses. But in Mana and the other areas, north and east areas, still those are not densely populated. So they have the beach is spacious. They can land their boat in front of their temporary huts, we call wadi. Yeah, it looks like very poor families, very difficult life they are spending when they are at their host region. No, it is not. They say that we don't need to pay like electricity bills, we don't need to pay water bills. However, we are getting water, and we have a very open life. Unity is there. We prefer to be there. So the relational, there is we can see some insights for relational well-being, and the subjective well-being other than the material well-being, other than savings, because they say that they can get a good harvest at the host or migratory sites. so they can get a good income as well. Not only that, fisher wives, right? Fisher wives, they are waiting to migrate because they can engage with dried fish processing. Actually, in Nigambu Chilaw area, the dried fish processing mean a separate group. They are buying fish from fishers and do the processing part only. Because of lack of space and smell, all these things, normally fisher wives, they do not have much opportunities to engage with dried fish processing when they are in home region in Nigambu Chilaw. But when they migrate to these areas, they have this opportunity, so they can earn some supplementary income which they can invest on their children's education and to buy jewelry. Children's education is important because this is the point we can see intragenerational uh, development, and none of the parents would like to see their children in doing fishing. They prefer to see them as doing a white collar job. So they want to give a good education to their children, and so they invest their this savings or their money for children's education. And fisher women, fishing households, they don't have good opportunities to obtain formal credits from normal banks and financial institutions, because you know that formal is financial institutions, they ask for collaterals, guarantors, all these things. So it is difficult to get loans. So what they do, they pawn or they mortgage their jewelry. So easy money, quick money, because jewelry has the high liquidity. So with their savings, they invest on these things for to cope up with any other shocks which will arise later. And so it means the fisher wives also, they try to migrate to have a better life. But in general, we know everything has barriers. So same way, migration also has some barriers imposed by host community, because people are coming from another area and fighting or competing for the same resource, because you know the fishery is open access, right? And it reduces their share, it reduces their harvest, so it affects on the local communities. So they have imposed several barriers from 2012 to 2015, my study period. Uh, and there are a lot of discussions, conflicts. I think this is the point where international organization of migration, especially Sri Lanka Center, can mediate. You can intervene here and look for better trade-offs, because we need to minimize we need to minimize these adverse impacts on our fishing communities, right? Having said that, I would propose my suggestions as short term and long term strategies. First, we need to do a very detailed survey and identifying possibilities for transformation, adaptation, and migration. Transformation mean there might be people who willing to engage in jobs in other sectors. So for such groups, for such people, we can provide a vocational training and some other skill development learning programs, and employ in other sectors. And also we can provide multi-day crafts and motivate, encourage fishers to engage with multi-day fishing, because actually the coastal area in Sri Lanka is almost exploited. According to the 2019 Nansen report produced from NARA, it stated that the fish stock we have is 1/5 of the fish stock we had in 1978, right? Fish stock reduced to 1/5 of the fish stock we had in 1978. A great reduction, right? So we can encourage them to the fish in deep sea. And adaptation, yeah, I have to say that I recently read a newspaper that and got to know that the Ministry of Fisheries is going to establish another processing center for fish canning. So likewise, we can look for other job opportunities within the small scale sector as well. Meantime, we can get or we can help, we can support for the fishers, those who are willing to migrate, for internal migration and possible resettlement programs. And this would be some short-term and long-term strategies we can propose, because we cannot leave anyone left behind, because we need to achieve sustainable development goals by 2030. No poverty, zero hunger, all these things. And we have to, we are marching under the inclusive development logo. We need to achieve, we need to careful about the inclusive development. We cannot neglect anybody. So we need to look about the gender equality, all these things, and justice, here blue justice. And then we can have a special area management zones, especially the severely affected area. We can stop zero waste disposal, and we can establish community-based task force with a good interactive governance platform, increase of community awareness, all these things. And with that, I'm reaching to the end of my presentation. So this is a note, the Sri Lankans you can read. So already the fishermen has started to migrate. So they are migrating to northward, and because they don't have much opportunities in their home regions, and they are getting good harvest. What my request from IOM Sri Lanka Center, please intervene here, and you can make their future better, and ensure their well-being, because they prefer to migrate. So we will see possibilities for this kind of migration, because it is not new, it is not a shock, it is they will accept this happily. With that, I would conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for inviting me here, and allowing me to talk about this migration, my preferred area. Rangita and all the organization of organizers of IOM. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilanthi Korlegama. I think it was a very insightful presentation. I think we have touched something that has not been actually looked by most of the people, although they were mostly busy with, looking at the scientific evidences of all these destruction when it comes to land, sea, air, pollution sort of. However, we have to always take care of our living beings also, especially our communities, fishing communities in the coastal line. And just to reiterate, Dr. Korlegama is a senior lecturer in agri-economics and extension, serving for University of Ruhuna in Sri Lanka, and she is specialized in fisheries economics and management. Thank you very much, Dr. Korlegama. Also, if there are any participants who are willing to send their questions to Dr. Korlegama, kindly do have them in your chat box, so that we will forward them to her, as well as at the Q&A round, we will give you an opportunity to ask questions from her directly. Now, we have another eminent speaker. He is from the NBRO. So he is actually a senior scientist. He specialized in environmental management, air quality management, and noise and pollution. Their institution is currently actively working for this destruction and to study the air pollution, air quality, or maybe the impact of such related to this vessel destruction in the Indian Ocean. So let me just give the floor to him, and I hope that Mr. Premasiri would be able to provide you with very important insights that had been recorded during this small period, and also he will be presenting some sort of insights and evidence that had been carried out by NBRO specifically on this particular vessel destruction air pollution assessment. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Premasiri.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Now, good afternoon, everyone, and joined with us for this important sessions. Might I am mainly dealing with some air pollution studies in Sri Lanka as well as in this case. Actually, I initially give some thought of what air pollution in Sri Lanka and what are the sources of air pollution in Sri Lanka, and go to the direct to the case. Now you know almost we have atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and geosphere, which is controlled by the which is consist of our environment and controlled by several natural cycles to maintain the equilibrium or the status of the atmosphere. You know, we have several natural cycles such as thermal stability, that water cycles for water stability, then and we have nitrogen cycle and carbon cycle, like all these cycles, and also we can think about our human life cycles as well. All these are manage our environment conditions very well naturally, because due to the combination, to keep combination of the elements in atmosphere and water as well as in soil, like that these cycles help to maintain this composition naturally, natural levels. However, if somewhere the broken of these cycles, then affect to the environment all. Maybe one cycle affected, it will be affected to all air quality, noise, air quality, water, and soil quality, etc. So, if you think about the pollution sources that can contribute to this, to deviate this natural composition of atmosphere in Sri Lanka, mainly the vehicle population, vehicle emissions, and the industrial emission. Like that, we have a lot of transport sector, which is use most of this fuel combustion, which generate high level of pollutants to our atmosphere. Then we have some electricity power generation, which is mainly because earlier we have had power generation from hydroelectricity, but now we have moved to some thermal power generation. So it adds a lot of to water as well as atmosphere. Then the industry, again we have a lot of emission sources for the air as well as water, and even contaminate with soil. And we have a lot of industrial estate in Sri Lanka, which is somewhat concentrated into small land areas and generate pollutants. In addition, chemical, so commercial and domestic emission, again we have a lot of in mainly urban area, the high population of housing and the commercial generate air pollution, and also other pollutants, even waste generation in urban areas are considerable. Sri Lanka. Then waste burning, open burning is another factor. We have a lot of even each urban area we have a huge amount of solid waste and burning every day sometimes, and even not only that places, individual households also they have their open burning system. Their waste are opening burning, so the pollutants are add to the atmosphere, as well as in soil pollution and water bodies near to those garbage dumps. And the agriculture and forest fire also we have some contribution for air pollution in a particular periods. And we have affected with the transbound air pollution as well. So we have to consider it as one of the sources in mainly in southwest monsoon period, northeast monsoon period from February, from November to February in each year we have faced to these problems as well. And then now we have a lot of problems with these accidental fires, which was happen accidentally in industries, maybe in vehicles, and all those things generate considerable amount of air pollutants in considerable amount of air pollution add to our atmosphere. So the one of the accidental fire is the Express Pearl ship fire, which at Colombo, close to the Colombo port. It is what we are talking about today as a highest concern environment problem. Why these normally we have seen the air pollutants emitted by the ships as well as the due to the firing of ship and worldwide, but the what is the important of this uh, Express Pearl ship is it contains a lot of chemicals and other materials. Even about nearly 50 materials are there. So due to this the incident, we have faced a lot of pollutants from water pollutants and land pollutants, and a lot of the things came to our land with sea breeze. And you can see here that there are a lot of chemicals as well as other materials, nearly about 50 materials in the ship. So is consist nitric acid, sodium hydroxide, then sulfur and methanol, and so on a lot of other chemicals as well as day-to-day materials such as aluminum, tire, and all those things are there. So there are a lot of chemicals as well as material. Once the fire is begun, all these some amount of these materials has been uh, released to atmosphere in two ways, maybe as a evaporating solutions such as organic solvent, methanol, and all other nitric and all those which are with the heat they are get exposed to atmosphere and itself generate vapor and can be goes to the atmosphere in surrounding environment, may be affected to the human beings and others. And also the in other way, when those materials are burned, then those are converted into sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and other pollutants such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, etc. Once they are burned. And also there are a lot of plastic and plastic things which can be generate even dioxin and furan as well in our atmosphere. So therefore, we have to get an idea what are the chemicals and what are the pollutants generate in this due to this firing of this ship. We have done a small study in the early the 23rd, which the ship is started burn on 21st May. We did the study at the 23rd May, near to the about 50 meters around the ship. We have seen that there are a lot of pollutants are generated along this flume which generate due to the fire. You can see the levels around the flume is particulate matter is more than 210 micrograms in smallest particulate, and PM10 levels are about 2,207 milligrams per cubic meter, and carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, even sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide is also generated during this fire in the early days the fire, but this fire has happened several days, almost about 7 days from 21st. We did this study in the second day, that is 25th, and seen that there is a lot of pollutants generated due to this fire. And therefore, we have run a model to study whether where these pollutants are goes due to this fire and the accident. So we have run some Aurora model for the nitric acid to generate nitrogen dioxide, which generate nitrogen dioxide, and we see that the high concentrations are in the sea area, and some more chemicals are coming to the land area as well. And again, we have done this for the several parameters pollutants to identify where the critical areas that can be exist high levels where that affect to the peoples in the land area, which is highly with exposed high levels. So we have identified this type of the area depending on the wind direction and wind speed, and using these models, we have identified about 120 square kilometer area in Jayala or surrounding area. So we have done some other studies, measure air pollutants there in selected location time to time to assess the pollutant that they are exposed. You can see these levels are, but we can see these levels are almost within our standard ambient air quality standards, and some pollutants have not exceeded accepted values. This is because mainly the during the fire happening, the wind pattern is highly wind is very high with very high speed, almost about 6 to 7 meters per second. So, and therefore the plume has gone above the ground level, as you see in here. The plume are going towards the land, but in somewhat above the land area. So that's why the pollutants are not reached to the ground level, but it has gone to further away from this area due to this high plume speed and wind pattern in this period. So we have identified this the area where we can get high pollution, and we have continuously measured the pollutant levels, mainly particulate levels. You can see in some times we have we recorded some high levels in a particular period, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, and other hours are lower than which is exceeded our national standard 24-hour standards as well. So this may be due to in certain period the plume may be come to ground levels, and with the changing of meteorological condition, it was again going in upper levels than this land come to the ground levels. Then we have to assess the this damage done to the by this fire to the our atmosphere. We have calculated using the emission factors of this chemicals and other presented in the ship, and we have calculated the load of pollutants depending on the amount of combustion in that. We didn't have any exact figure how much of uh, these things materials in the ship has burned, and therefore it should be more than 50%. Therefore we have assessed this assessment at the 50 levels and up to 55 levels. Then you can see the pollutant load is very high, and we can assess about 8,000 metric tons to 13,000 metric tons has been collected to our atmosphere. So then we need to pricing of these for to ask about the remedial cost from the ship and the owners. So again, we have run the suddenly we have run models to assess the ground level condition in other areas. This is the worst case scenario screen model. Now, since we need good meteorological database to run sophisticated models such as Aeromod and CalFAF like them. Now we are preparing those the requirements meteorological files to run good models such as CalFAF Aeromod model, which is recommended by USCP to assess the pollutant dispersion from this scenario. And again, we think this is the transport plume. By studying plume, this plume has been gone through this triangle or this and so we have studied the pollutants level in our measuring point in those area. In 23rd and 24th, like those days, Colombo pollutant levels get some high. In this day, due to the transport, due to the COVID situation, COVID lockdown situation, the pollutant levels are very low in all over the Sri Lanka urban areas. But we have recorded in high levels in Colombo in 23rd, 25th, up to 25th, and in some areas like Kurunagala and the other areas which is within the triangle is get high in around 30th, 31st. This also again we can explain that the wind pattern and the high wind was reduced the high wind meteorological condition has changed to low wind condition about 3 meters per second in the 28th, 29th and 30th like that. Therefore, we can assume that these pollutants are gone above the ground level in our area and drop into the about 50 kilometer or 70 kilometer range in other areas in the country. And we are collect some data, rainwater quality data by Meteorological Department of Sri Lanka. They collect and they have given to us to analyze this data for to predict any acid rain condition, but we have not received any acid rain condition in rainwater because in the ground level. But as I explained earlier, the high pollutants levels are within the sea area. Once the rainwater may be dissolved out of area and may be collected to the sea water, as well as we have seen that lot of the solid pollutants such as the ash have been in the sea water due to this situation, and all those pollutants, most of pollutants dissolve in the above the sea levels, which is high levels, and once they reach to the ground area, low in pollutants levels due to dispersion. That is the situation. Now we are studying these conditions to assess the pollutant levels further, their decision, and actually we have to have some mass balance equation, how much of pollutants have been burned, or what is the available pollutant with the ship now, and also there are some failed containers to the water. Those came, we have to do some assessment based on the mass balance as well to get realistic values. With that, I conclude my session, and you are welcome. Any questions available? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. I think he provided some very recent insights from the destruction of the sea, and also I think this is the first time that such sort of evidence had been presented via a platform like this. And I thank him a lot for providing all these information, and perhaps like you have actually contributed to bust all our myths also on these acid rains and things like that. Meanwhile, I wish to ask you another question, Mr. Premasiri, because you are a specialist in this area of air pollution and other sorts of air pollutant-based studies. There had been some sort of rumors spreading among these social media, saying that it's a meteorological department, and then they were saying that there are some acid rains that are going to take place. Are these true? Will these things would take place?
Actually, this was happened only about a few days, say about 7 days, and the pollutant, according to the pollutant loads and the wind speed and all those things within this period, these pollutants have been goes away and diluted well. Therefore, there may be, we cannot as a samples given analysis also shown that there's no any acid rain generated by this with these pollutants. But since the pollutant levels in the sea area is very high, there may be some acid rain due to the with the raining and within the sea area. But the inland area we didn't see any acid rain condition recorded, no any there.
Meanwhile, Mr. Premasiri, I wish to ask from you, based on your current studies, or maybe still I know that it's too early for us to come to a conclusion or a judgment on the effects of this destruction. However, do you think that the acid rains, I mean, so-called acid rains, are probably some developments of such? Would it affect the marine life of the sea? I mean, near this destruction site?
Normally, when we consider the quantity of acid rain or the rainwater and the sea in the sea, there may be not such a change of pH or other pollutant considerations. But the due to the acid rain, I don't think any deviation, but due to the lot of chemicals with the ship, they may be leaked to the water and change some conditions will be affected to the sea life in sea areas.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. And I see there had been some questions posted to some of the panelists over here. So there's another question posted by Mr. Atula Javira. Mr. Athula, would you like to raise your question? I saw Mr. Athula Javera's question over here. Who are the world governmental or non-governmental organizations available to conduct the assessment on environment? Mr. Premasiri, would you like to
Yes.
answer this question?
In Sri Lanka, we have Marine Environment Authority is the main body who have to protect the environment in the mainly marine areas. And the Central Environment Authority is the main body who have to protect the environment in land areas and inland, and there are some other say we have North West Provincial Authority is there, and but mainly the Central Environment Authority and the Marine Environment Authorities are the two bodies which handle these environment conditions in land, by sea, Central Environment Authority, and coastal area, these people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. And also, there had been another question. I think it's by our other colleague, Ms. Vatsala Jaimana from UNICEF. I think she had already received an answer from Dr. Dilanti Korlegama. Dr. Dilanti Korlegama, would you like to explain her question and the answer?
Yes, she asked about the possibility of giving compensation and social protection scheme for fishing communities. So I would say that such schemes would not be sustainable. We need to enhance their livelihoods rather than giving money over and over, and it would not be it would not take place properly, within the Sri Lankan context. And we have received that either although the government has promised to give 5,000 rupees, still none of the fishing families, fishing households received money. Therefore, better to have social protection scheme, but giving compensation all the time is would not be sufficient. We can give a compensation, of course, but we have to do it properly. Top of all, more than that, we need to encourage, or we need to do some mechanisms to improve their livelihood, improve their living standard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilanti. May I ask all the other participants over here, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, kindly raise your hand, or either just type them in the chat box so that I will be able to forward them to the panelists. Okay, we have another question by Mr. Trevor. I think he's from the Canadian High Commission. Has there been or will there be a negative impact on deep sea fishing, multi-net trawler fishing? Is it safe to consume fish from deep sea fishery? Is it safe?
With this situation, there are a lot of chemicals. Some chemicals are released to the water, but when consider the amount, actually we have not how much amount chemicals mixed with the water, and any study reveal that these are the pollutants or parameters exceeded the any water samples. We have not such data available at the moment. So but the problem is with the shipping, deep sea shipping, it is okay, but there are some problems with these microfibers, fiber plastic, and the plastic bead, like those things. They are they are flowing within they are floating on the with the water. Some affect there are some impact due to those plastics beads and very small microfiber plastics for the elements of these fishermen. And also some fish also get damaged with these plastic elements due to due to this the getting as a food, or maybe some other things. But I think I have not this is general idea. I have no knowledge about the aquatic life, so this is somewhat general idea I can say.
I would
Thank you,
like
Mr. Premasiri. Shall I go to Dr. Dilanti? Sorry, please, Dr. Dilanti. Yes, floor is for you.
Yes, actually, this effect on deep sea fishery as well, because deep sea fishing mainly target tuna species, skipjack tuna, yellowfin tuna, all these things, and these fish highly migratory fish species, so they are moving from one area to another, and this devastation or this contaminated or polluted area in this migratory route, therefore that fishery will have a adverse impact because of this devastation, because of the pollution of these things.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilanti. There's another question. So our participant is asking, for how long will these chemicals remain in the water surfaces? Both of you could provide your answers. Shall we just move to Mr. Premasiri first?
Actually, I can't say this much of time, because the chemicals will sometimes dissolve with the this water, and maybe reduce some within maybe 1 month or 2 months. But the impact may be more than that, because of this microplastic and all those things. They can float with water anywhere in the sea, and sometimes come back to the land area, and goes with the sea breeze. So therefore there may be impact. I can say limited to up to the 1 month or 2 months. We cannot, I think, we cannot limit it to a time period. It may be longer times as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. How about you, Dr. Dilanti?
Yes, I would say we cannot exactly say the time period which this will exist in the remaining in the sea water, but I want to say that the chemicals, they are undergoing reactions, right? If there is a acid, if there is an acidity, then it react with calcium carbonate. It means the corals, right? And dissolve, all these things happen, and it itself becoming neutralized. In that sense, we cannot say this chemical would exist for this much of period, but we cannot say that, but there would be another compound form because of these pollutants.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dilanti. Meanwhile, there's another question. I think it is also very much relevant to the previous question. Ms. Vatsala Jaiman from UNICEF, she's asking, like when it comes to inland water, can it be polluted? Particularly, what is the risk of drinking water sources being polluted? Mr. Premasiri, would you like to answer?
Yes, actually, we have done some study in inland water bodies, water wells. We take some sample with this once this was happened. but analysis are not show any big change. But we have to do we have to continuously study this land water as well as whether they are getting changed, because almost this coastal area, most of people are using well water as drinking water, and also once the chemical composition of the seawater may be changed with this situation, it may be affected to the water, groundwater as well. So we are doing some studies, but we have to do several months, so maybe we are trying to do in every 2 weeks, maybe 6 months or 1 year. We have to do it whether there's to study any change is due to this situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. There's another question by a participant, Mr. Fayaz. He's asking, what can we do to avoid these in the future? How about Dr. Dilanti?
Avoid this kind of devastations. Just, we have to be very careful about, and we need to have policies, better policies, and our law is not strong enough to accommodate all these things. But we cannot stop this routes. I mean, this transportation of these vessels, all these things, because they can pass our area as a silent passage, but these things can happen. The only thing is we must be well equipped. We must be well equipped with enough facilities and technology. You know, we have very busy harbors, both Hambantota and Colombo, and we have this port city, all these things, and lot of ships are coming. See, if we have such a big and important harbors, ports, all these things, we must be we must have sufficient technology, all the equipment. We should not wait until somebody else providing with vessels and all these things. So what we are getting as compensation, right? Definitely we will be getting something from this ship owner, this express feeders or everybody. So we need to invest this to strengthen our port authority and naval those navy to mitigate or to cope up with such incidents happening in future. The technology and equipment we need to be prepared.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilanti. Then there was another question. I think already Dr. Dilanti would have answered this, but still for the audience to know, I think even Mr. Premasiri also could support with an answer for this, I guess. It was raised by Mr. Atula. What is the mechanism available to value the damage caused to fishermen and marine species by the MV Express per vessel destruction issue? Dr. Dilanti, would you like to elaborate your answer first?
Could you please repeat it, Rangita?
Yes. What is the mechanism available to value the damage caused to fishermen and marine species by this MV Express issue?
Right now, we don't have a well-defined mechanism or any other, but NARA and MIPA jointly engage with some surveys and valuing assessment, all these things. But because of the COVID, a lot of many experts cannot engage with these mechanisms. So far, what they are doing is this analysis and collection data. However, in-depth surveys are still not carrying out.
How about Mr. Premasiri? I think he gave a good explanation earlier, I guess,
Yes,
during the
actually,
single
the
session.
now MIPA has coordinated with the all expert in the country in each area. See some how what is the impact to get some idea about the impact to the aquatic water, the aquatic plants in the water sea and life in water sea, and the again the some economics are valuation the especially fisheries get the details about the fishermen and they are lost and they are compensation like that all they are valued, and also the environment damage. Yes, we are Central Environment Authority, and we are doing some air quality damage assessment, and also the expert in these areas are helped to VIPA to get evaluated these damages. Initially, we can see damage to our coastal area and all those things, and how much we have to spend for the cleaning of coastal area like that. We have some initial cost as well as for the aquatic life changes get more need more studies for it will be done later, but they are valued initially for what we can see and what we can assess initially, and then after for they are going to value it with these other changes and with the scientific data. It is going
Thank
on
you.
actually.
Okay. Yes, I think it's a very, I mean, right now it's a bit early, I guess. We are at a very early time to discuss about it, but still, I think it's a very important discussion that we are doing right now because this will actually help us to support in a better ways, to build back better, So, there's another question by again Mr. Trevor from the Canadian High Commission. Is there possible effective interventions that can be undertaken to reduce the damage or loss of marine sea life like turtle, fish, seabed life, etc.? Is Sri Lanka equipped for such intervention, or can we get international help? How about Dr. Dilanthi answering that? I guess that is her pet area.
Yes, the thing is now that booms, right? Booms has located around the lagoon area, but what Mipa said that I asked about this. So they because of these high waves, right? The proper waves, it is difficult to establish booms to reduce this the spreading of this. Pollutants, all these things, but to safeguard the marine life in lagoon area, they have positioned these booms, and this is what they have done so far.
Okay, thank you very much. There's another question. According to past data and incidents, have nature and ecosystems recovered in such cases? Based on the past, events taken place, I mean, had similar sort of activities, had been kind of calmed down or healed by itself? Do you have any experience?
Actually, this another situation we have faced in last year in gold area. Also one of the thing, but it is the mainly happening with the oil spillaging of oil by the ship. But such a thing we can. There are methodologies and things to rearrange these situations to remove oil and all those things. Actually, in this case also there are the I think Morato University and the other was the in alert if there is a oil spillage then to recover those things. but environment damage happen is we cannot recover. I think so. Any environment damage happen, we cannot recover, but we have to think to manage things uh, which to which not happen in early, again. And also we have to again we need some international help as well, because we have not some areas in the analysis and all those say the real analysis in water and other things in small quantities, or maybe fish body analysis and all those things. We need some international help as well, because we have not some facilities in Sri Lanka, as well as for the comparison. For we can depend, we cannot depend in one data, but we have to analyze few areas to get real data. So that's actually we have to need to improve these things, and to recover those to somewhat, we have to have international support as well. We need some, I think so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. And also, I think this your answer actually, I think, addressed his second question. Also, Mr. Sanjeev has again asked, like, if not, how do we correct this? Like, if there are these sort of incidental things happening, so then how to correct them, and what sort of corrective actions could we take as all individuals? I think as a country, we all have some sort of responsibility to face these things, as well as to provide some sort of solutions from our own capacity. So I think that should be the participatory approach to solve this main issue. I think Dr. Dilanti also mentioned, like how pollutants, like when it comes to plastic and other things, how they are being dumped to the sea directly, even by the fishermen, coastal fishermen themselves, and also how we dump like plastic bottles and plastic bags into our rivers, and then how that uh, gets accumulated in the sea later on. So as people now, this is like one incident that we see as a massive destruction, but still as a country, being the fifth in the world as a plastic polluter like of the sea, we have a great responsibility to stop all our unwanted activities and to go for a zero uh, plastic free environment in the future. So there's a so as we are coming to the end of our session, we have another like last question. Is there a gap in the legal and policy frameworks relating to this maritime aspect?
Actually, there are some actions we have to develop, and we have to think about, because anyway we have to have some kind of facilities, especially to tackle these type of things, because maybe we know the ship has some leak of nitric acid. So we have to attend, we have to system to attend early. Maybe if we attend early to remove that things, or the nitric acid container, this cannot, maybe may not be happen like that. But we have to develop such facilities, and also we think that we have, they have in these officers should have some knowledge about the chemicals and all those things as well, how to tackle with those things. And also in our legal aspects also, there are some loopholes we have to think about with these two nearly two incident happen. We have to think some legal side as well.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Premasiri. And also, there's another question by Ms. Radhika Fernando. So it is posed to Dr. Dilanti. When transforming these fishermen to other areas of islands, such as east, north, eastern coast, to do their fishing, there might be issues for local fishermen in those areas due to increment of people. So, what kind of mechanism should we apply to overcome these issues? I think already in your presentation you addressed this. However, we wish to know another answer.
Yes, it's true. The host community raised a lot of barriers, a lot of issues for these migrating fishers, and every year, because they are migrating yearly, every year they are coming up with new issue, new barrier. Therefore, however, the migrants, the migrating communities are practicing this for centuries, as I mentioned. And migrating communities, they say we taught them fishing. We taught them how to fish, but now they are stopping us. This is what. So there are a number of conflicts. It is true. So what we can do is we can have an interactive platform. Especially now we have to say something. I mean, there is a reason, because the fish stock in future will decrease in these areas. Therefore, we have to accommodate these fishers, right, to somewhere to secure their livelihoods. In that sense, we can have an interactive platform, and we need to have some trade-offs, at least for a particular number of people to accommodate in that area. Not everybody, at least for 100 households, likewise. And we can select different places and then have discussions, and common platforms to raise their issues, and follow all their traditions, norms, all these things. So through that, we can have the better trade-offs between these two communities. However, mingling these two communities would not be very difficult, because both communities, I mean host and the migrating communities, they speak Tamil, and they are Roman Catholics. So the identity base, the only difference is the migrant fishers from Nigamuchilav are Sinhalese, but people in Mana and the East Coast, Tamils. But they speak Tamil, and the same religion, most of the time same religion, and looks like same, I mean, complexion is same. Therefore, they can mingle with the two communities can mingle. Only thing is we need to have a common platform, better trade-offs, good discussions, and harmony between these two groups. It is true, fishing effort will increase, but that fishing effort decrease from this side. So we can make a space for migrant fishers to continue for few, I mean, 1 or 2 decades even, until we are recovering this affected area.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilanthi. And this question goes to both of you. I think you both could actually answer. I think it's one of your pet areas. So Dennis from Slyke and Trust, he is raising a question regarding the seasonal migration of fishing communities. How are coastal and marine ecosystems such as mangroves or coral reefs affected by these? Is there kind of seasonal overexploitation in certain areas? I think that overexploitation was kind of explained by all of you. How about the other sort of biodiversity and other effects? How about Mr. Premasiri first?
Yes, the small change in water quality in sea water sometimes not affected to the aquatic life. So those who comes to the lane in this mangroves area and all those things, sometimes not coming and they are going back away. Like that, those things can be happen due to this uh, incident. And actually it is also I read some references with these things. So since I am not an aquatic person, and maybe it can be explained by the Ramika, no? Diranti,
Yes.
you can give some good answer for that.
Yeah, because of the tidal effect. We have a tidal effect, and with that the water mixing happen, and this affect, therefore these contaminants, pollutants can go to a lagoon as well, and some of the species come to the lagoon or mangrove area for breeding, and those are popular as nursery grounds. And then if these if the area contaminated, then this fish larvae or even the egg gets spoiled. So it definitely affect on lagoon environment. It affects because a slight change in water quality, slight change in the marine environment affect on these small juveniles, fries and egg. And and this oil spill, all these things, because seagrass, we can in future we would see that seagrass beds will cover with some oil sediment, all these sedimentations, then their nursery habitats will damage. And basically the main question is the mixing will happen because of the tidal effect.
Yes, certainly. I think that that would be a big disruption time to come. Uh, and then we have another question from Ms. Radhika Fernando. Due to this marine pollution, what kind of effect can be happen to the salt production in this country? I think we had a similar question in our Sinhala session as well. People were so scared to consume salt, and then they packed salt. They were in queues to buy salt. Is there any impact to our salt industry? How about Dr. Dilanthi once again?
Uh, yes, yeah, I don't think, because the salt processing is not one single process. We do not produce salt in from one single process, and also the saltons are located in Putlam and Hambantut area. Yeah, we can see the dead the marine dead turtles and marine creatures in these areas. However, we can purify, we can purify the seawater, identifying the contaminants, and we can remove it. So salt is salt we are producing salt following several number of steps. Even right now we can't say the marine the brine water, sea water is 100% pure, right? Because Hambantota still there is a harbor, right? And a lot of bunkering, all these things happening. So we can't say we are getting pure sea water from for the Hambantota Sultan. So however the purifying process is going on, no, I don't think we need to be fear on salt. It is coming through number of processing. There are a number of steps.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dilanthi. So finally, I think I'm going to address. We had a comment given by Mr. Rifa Wadud. He's actually from the Ministry of Environment. So he has mentioned that the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, NOSCOP, is in place, and mandate is with MIPA. This is like, I think, for the policy framework that was raised by one of the panelists on the question on what other policies and frameworks are available. Thank you very much, Mr. Rifa Wadud, for forwarding that thought from your end. And I think, yes, we all have a big deal with this destruction of this vessel, and also to support our environment to build back better. And also, I think today is the day that we are commemorating the World Oceans Day, which was on 8th of June. I think it is a very timely discussion that we had, and also we were able to bust a lot of myths among us. I think we all had a lot of myths, and people were, stressed out with a lot of rumors ongoing with this destruction. I think it is good that we ask from the experts and also the people who are actually actively working in this field to know the realities of what's going on. However, the future destructions, if it is going to happen, it's our duty as collective citizens of this country to make some sort of a mechanism to have some sort of a solution by helping each other. So let's save this planet together, and also let's save the ocean, because we love our ocean. We live with our ocean and we are surrounded by the ocean. So we wish you a very good evening, and then I think now it's the time for us to leave. We'll see you all soon, and we have another Tamil session tomorrow as well from 10 to 11:30. So this is the first session that we held in this way in trilingual mode to provide some good information to Sri Lankans with like information that are coming from reliable sources. Thank you very much. Aibowan.